Hello and welcome to a very snowy day here in Colorado. We are going to be seeing, first off, why the i3 is so terrible in the snow. It's not just tires. There's something in particular that makes it so bad, and then I'm going to tell you how we fixed it and take it for a drive to see truly if we have fixed it in this snowy weather. I'm going to try a full throttle acceleration here in normal mode. Ready for this? And to start off, to talk about the major problem with the i3, we're gonna jump back inside on a video conference with my dad, who was an i3 owner. We've owned, I think, 3 or 4 of these in our family, and we're gonna talk about what makes this car so scary to drive in the snow. I mean this seriously. All right, everyone, so this is my dad, and my dad has owned i3 and driven an i3 in the snow, and if I remember correctly, the first time you bought your first i3, you drove it home in the snow on the factory tires. And it's the two things. Every car gets better with snow tires in the snow, but also how about the characteristics? There's a major problem with the i3 that makes it especially dangerous driving in the winter. So please explain.
So let me set the stage. I had just bought a used i3 from a dealership up here in Connecticut in New Haven. And I was living in New Canaan, and it was not a far ride, but basically I took 95 down from New Haven, and it started to snow, and it was cold out, and this car did not have snows on it. So every single time that I would actually put a little bit of, and there was a lot of traffic. That's what I remember now. I was in stop and go traffic, and it was going between 0 and 5 or 7 miles an hour and then stopping. And every time I would take my foot off the accelerator, the car would literally slide out to the rear, either to the left or to the right, and I did not know what was going on. And then when I would try to start to go again, I think these tires must have frozen up like hockey pucks at Boston Garden or something, because I could not even go. So then people are honking behind me. I white-knuckled drove this car home from New Haven. It took 2.5 hours to get it down to Stamford, Connecticut. It was the most frustrating experience I've ever had. And basically, if you know that area, it's flat. 95 is flat in southern Connecticut for the most part. Little hills here and there. So I don't know what was happening every time I took my foot off the gas, but it was like a Six Flags roller coaster ride. It was not fun.
Right. And to be clear, this was your first electric car, so you didn't know about regen. Now, you had some hybrid vehicles that had some regen that were brake blended, but this is all on the accelerator pedal. Yeah.
Right. But I didn't know what was going on. Now, obviously, I know what was going on now, because I started to learn what regenerative braking was, and I love regen now. But back then, the combination of the snow, not having snow tires, and the regen was honestly a dangerous combination at 7 miles an hour, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, sure. Totally agree. I've noticed the same driving i3 in the snow. And unlike most EVs, you cannot turn down regen, because when, like I had the Tesla out earlier today in the snow and it was okay, but I turned regen to low instead of standard. And that just allows more control over braking with the ABS system rather than regen. And there's 2 things in particular we're going to be looking at in this video that I'm hoping to find. The first is better software control and tuning of drag control from regen. So, this car is on much newer software than when you got your i3 so many years ago. It was still new back then. You had to get a used one, but it was still brand new.
Yes,
and,
right, yeah.
So has BMW made the software so that regen backs off a little bit, something called drag control. And they have this technology for their internal combustions for engine braking, believe it or not. If you have too much engine braking, they'll actually apply some throttle to keep the wheels spinning. So we'll see if this is the same for their electric vehicle now, if the i3 does this. And the snow tires.
There was one other thing. It was a Rex, right? So it had that little 600cc gas engine in it that would kick on. I can't remember, though, if that was causing the problem. I don't think that was the issue. I think
it won't make a difference.
Yeah, it didn't make a difference, because if I'm not mistaken, that little gas engine, all it does is really charge the battery, which then the battery puts the energy to the wheels. So I don't think that would have any issue with that. But that was a hairy ride. That was crazy.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to going outside right now, driving the i3. We're going to be seeing how it performs with DSC on, dynamic traction control on, and then we're going to put it in dyno mode and see if we can slide it around to be silly.
I have two words for you. 2 words. Snow tires.
Snow tires. That's right. So we got the new Bridgestone Blizzak LM500s we're going to go test out.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All
right.
Great.
Thanks for the Zoom meeting, Dad. We'll see you on another episode. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
So you've heard the problems. Now let me show you what we've done to fix it. Now there is no way to reduce the amount of regen on the i3. That is the problem with it, of course. But we have put on some very grippy snow tires. These are the Bridgestone Blizzak LM500s. They're actually one of only 2, I think, winter tires that you can select in the world for the i3. There might be one more, so let's say 3. But Bridgestone is the tire BMW selected when they were building this car to make the summer tire and the winter tire package. And they're such a weird size tire. It's a 155 section tire. It's really small. When we went to go put them on, we did another video a few weeks ago. I'll link that over here. But now we have a chance to actually test them here in the snow. We're gonna drive around and see if the car feels planted. Is the regen going to kick the back end out? Is it going to feel unnerving? And then, you know me, of course, we're going to try and slide it around a little bit for fun as well. So let's go jump in on sort of this empty day here in our neighborhood in Fort Collins, Colorado, and see what the i3 can do. And now we're going to get going for a drive in the i3 in the snow on the Blizzaks. And we have a couple things going for us here. We have 2 levels of traction control. We have full on and then DSC in traction mode. It's called dynamic traction control. This backs off some of the traction control from stepping in to allow for some wheel spin. Now, something interesting about snow tires is that it's not necessarily the tire that provides the grip. It certainly does. But snow tires are designed to hold snow, and they pack snow into the tread. And then it is that snow-on-snow contact that allows the tires to actually grip. So I thought that was super interesting. It's the difference with, you know, mud tires or all-terrain tires are designed to get the mud out of the tires and have the blocks grip, where snow tires are the opposite. They want to trap the snow in the tire because snow-on-snow is quite grippy. So here we go in traction control normal. We have a car coming, so we will wait. And the one thing to keep in mind is, you know, driving an i3 on the factory tires, it's impossible to move. I mean, Tymon's here with me. You saw we could barely get it out of the driveway on the stock summer tires. And that's not uncommon. That's not unique to the i3. Summer tires in general are just not meant for snowy conditions. There's nothing abnormal to that situation. But I will say the regen situation with the summer tires and the i3 was particularly bad. And what we're noticing here is pretty strong regen, but then did you notice that it just cut off there?
Yeah, it kept rolling.
And that is very different than early versions of the i3 where it would kind of grab regen. So it is possible that through software, this again was newer than the older i3s that I've tested in the snow, and there's been software iterations that they have a more advanced form of drag control. And this is sort of ABS, but not for friction brakes. It's for engine braking, or in this case, electric motor regen braking. And pretty much every EV has drag control of some kind. So here we go. We're 25 miles an hour. I'm going to let off regen, tons of regen, and it's holding strong, which is nice. Now, one thing the i3 always does is whenever you get lateral grip with regen, or I should say lateral yaw, or any kind of movement in the chassis, it cuts all regen. Let's see if it's the case in the snow. I'm sure it is. So here we go, big regen and turning, and it coasts, it freewheels. So what that's allowing you to do now is it's not gonna lock the rear wheels and step the back end out, which is great. So many EVs have a mode like low regen setting that you can put it in that will limit the amount of regeneration force that you get on the rear axle. And this is just not one of them. See here, we're just on straight ice. So there's really nothing we can do in that scenario. Oh, and there goes my camera. Let's get that put up. Sorry to anyone who was watching on that camera at that time. I hope y'all are okay. Brace the fall, all right, let's hope. So cruising down the road here, doing 30 miles an hour in a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit zone, feels great. No huge concern. And this is with traction control on. I can feel if I floor it, traction control kick on, but it still accelerates really well. And let's pick one of these streets and go down it. We'll go down one of these side roads. They're not as well traveled, which is kind of what I'm looking for, something like this. just fresh powder. Love it. And you know, if I go around this corner really quick and floor it, you can see it grabs brakes really hard there and it cuts all the power, right? So we're still maintaining acceleration. Let's do a full brake. Braking is not terrible, but not amazing. The acceleration is seriously impressive on these tires in this snow, I gotta say. They're little tiny tires and they're doing pretty well. Let's put it in dynamic traction control now. And what this will do is it will allow a little bit more slip. So if I get exuberant on the throttle, yeah, we can shred it a little bit more. So this guy's just shoveling. He probably doesn't even hear us coming. It's an electric car. Let's take away at full power. It's silent, so he won't even notice. Floored. Traction control is kicking in. Once it gets going, you can feel it spin up, and it allows a lot of spin, this DTC mode, which is pretty cool. Sorry for the wipers making that noise, not much we can do there. And braking performance again, pretty impressive. All right, no one's coming. I gotta say, the i3 is drivable in the snow now. Is it incredible? No. I think it's just, you know, nature of a rear-wheel drive car in the snow. I mean, we're asking a lot of it now by giving it big power, but if you were to drive normally in snowy weather, you're either on snow or not snow, and you can do it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, would you feel comfortable driving this around, like, just in the snow?
Yeah. I would also just drive it around with traction control off if it was snowing.
Right, because you like to go sideways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's just get it down this road here, and let's just get it a little sideways, shall we? Look at that. Nice. Just fun little angles it lets you play with, and it doesn't really get in the way for that kind of stuff, which is exactly what we want. Now, we've been driving in Eco Pro mode, which has been delaying the accelerator pedal from not being as snappy. I'm going to see what it's like in comfort mode now.
Get real speed now.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been traction limited this whole time, so let's go out of here in comfort mode, hard on the power, a little bit of slide. See, now I'm floored and it's not giving me anything. And there we go. So now it's starting to release some power. This is like we're snowmobiling. We're not driving. Here, let's get a little sideways. Oh, it grabbed the brakes. I think we need a snowmobile license instead of a driving license. This is great. Here, we'll go left here. Little angles, little angles. Here, we want a bigger angle here. There we go, a little bit. But once you get past the initial skid, the systems kind of shut everything down. Now, there is a mode we can put this car in called roller mode, and that will allow it to be totally fun and turn off all the traction control. Should we at least experiment with what that's like?
Why would we not?
Right, well, these tires...
We gotta make sure this car's safe for Alyssa to drive.
Right, well, these tires are providing enough grip where I think we can have fun very safely and comfortably. So far, the tires are impressive, especially for being so narrow. Let's turn off the traction control and see what it does then. All right, so here we've engaged this little sub menu by holding this button here on the left. We're gonna go to start roller. I'm going to select this, start roller mode, yes. And now we're in test mode, activated, braking system. It's going to come up with all the warnings possible. This is basically dyno mode for the car. So we're going to pull out here. I can feel the rear wheels slipping. I don't want to just go out and skid right in front of a giant Escalade. You can feel them sliding back there though. You really get on it. So now we have no ABS, we have no DSC. Let's just pitch it in a little bit here. Hell yeah. Look at this thing. Full rally mode in the i3. I think I'm gonna back it down to Eco Pro for that delayed accelerator pedal a little bit. Now we're in, now we're having a good time. And so no systems, where it's just us and the Blizzak LM500s. I'm gonna start braking back here. There's no regen in this mode either, so it's just the physical brakes with no ABS, so we can lock it up like that there, just for demonstration purposes, of course. No one's coming, and here we are, sending it a little more. You have no idea how fast the rear wheels are spinning, but I suspect very fast. Now, the reason you wouldn't want to use dyno mode so often on the pavement And one of the problems the i3s had with this dyno mode was that you would generate so much wheel spin on the rear axle that it would actually, when the tires hooked up to the pavement, they would snap the motor mounts. And so it would literally just shred the motor out of the car. And so in the snow, though, that's no concern. It's zero stress on the drivetrain components. It's just really a big blast here. And the best part is you can do skids around your neighborhood like this, right? You can just go through. And look, there's people walking over there. They have no idea we are full sideways shredding. They haven't even turned around. That's the benefit of an electric car. You can go and have fun and no one knows you're doing anything. It's a giggle machine. And these tires are freaking awesome too. I'm surprised that we are even able to get going even up some of these hills. And the reason I'm so impressed is if only you knew how bad the summer tires were in the snow, you would understand. So let's give it one last send, and then I'd say the i3 is almost, if not right there for being winter rated. Here we go, big send, big angle. We have a ton of steering lock to play with here, so we can go sideways all day long. I was just showing the lock there, that's why it was a little unsmooth. I just wanted to show how much front end movement we have. And so you can get big angles with this car. What a machine. Well guys, I gotta say, massive improvement with the i3, just alone with winter tires. You will see this with any car, of course, but specifically the i3 with that regen situation when you're driving normally, it really throws the car off on summer tires. I gotta say, the behavior was so much better in the snow. I'm so happy that we have these snow tires. They're hard to find, so if you can get a set, I certainly would. Again, we have the Blizzak LM500s on this car. Pretty impressed with them, makes a world of difference. Definitely won't be running an i3 in the winter without them ever again. We've done that, it was sketchy. Don't do that to yourself, it's dangerous. This is the safest way to drive in the winter time. And little i3's a freaking snowmobile out here, gotta love it. We'll see you on the next one.